Yes, now Mala Davi Thanjapan is passionate about early childhood education and wants to spread the word about why it is vital for a child to have a holistic learning experience. She is a student and advocate of Montessori education system, which came to her rescue when her daughter Visha was diagnosed as with schizophrenia when she was 19. And we're more than privileged to have them both in studio with us today. Welcome to the show, Visha and Mala.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us.
Yes.
Are you comfortable?
Yes.
Yeah, all right. All right, Mala, can you first tell us how you got involved in early childhood education?
Actually, I was working as a corporate before getting married. I was working for Mattel.
Right.
And after getting married and having children, and we had to move countries. So we were living in Jakarta at that time.
Yeah.
And I had lots of help. My children were 1, 3 and 5. So the London Montessori launched their training center. And I enrolled in their training program and attained a diploma. Then we came back to Malaysia. I started a Kumon center, which was similar to the Montessori system. And then we had to relocate to Bangkok. And I worked in international school with special needs. And Modern Montessori International, MMI, wanted me to set up a training center. So I was trained by MMI Singapore. And that's how my journey started with in this early childhood.
Now, you mentioned about the Montessori education system, and for the benefit of our viewers, could you explain to us a little more about that?
Okay, Montessori, a lot of people is using it as a label or I think it is something new that they want to start a new form of education. But Montessori actually was discovered by an Italian lady, Dr. Maria Montessori, 100 over years ago. And she was a feminist too. She fought for women's rights, and she felt that the need to start education from very young, that's 1.5 years to 6 years, is a crucial part of a child's life.
Right.
A lot of people don't realize the importance of early childhood because they think it's like taking care of young children, it's just growing up, but they don't know a lot of stuff is going on during the period because the brain is developing, character's been building. So the Montessori method sets a platform or a foundation for learning. So before we go to academics, if our fine and gross motor skills are not developed, or the pencil grip, some children have very bad handwriting, right? So we emphasize a lot on these muscles, and then we also emphasize on the 5 senses. If your 5 senses do not work, how can you hear phonics? How can you see maths? How can you? So these are the basic foundation. Then we introduce mathematics and reading. But a lot of people think that Montessori is not very academic. It is for each child's ability. If you're a slow learner, you learn according to your space. If you're academically inclined, you will read and write by the age of 6, and you do even fraction. But this education system is not only for academics, it's a life learning system, and it builds the child inner self, self-discipline, intrinsic motivation. So the teacher is actually not a teacher, she just guides and taps the child's inner potential.
Definitely a holistic learning
Approach of
experience.
learning.
Yeah.
So, in which point in time did you first realize that Visha had special education needs?
At the age of 6, Visha was already scarred when she was in Malaysia at the age of 3 because her coordination and gross motor skills were not good. So they forced her to write. And that had an impact. And when we went to Bangkok in an international school, they identified her problem. And she saw the first educational psychologist. And they didn't give her a label. They said that she had signs of dyslexia, slow learner, 4 years below her academic year. So that's when she had special help all the way through her academic year.
Yes, and you did use your Montessori skills to help Visha and her special needs. How did you apply your Montessori education for Visha's needs?
See, we didn't look at Visha as a special needs child. We looked at her strength. That's why Visha, until today, her will, her determination to succeed, because we always looked at her strength. So she always was a positive person. Can you imagine a child who never had academic success at all in all her life because she was not access to the curriculum? So still she's positive, she looks forward to succeed. It's through this methodology that I advocate that makes her a very positive personality.
Yeah, yeah.
that's
and here
brilliant.
you are, giving talks to other people and
Yes.
inspiring other people as well.
Yes.
Now, I understand that you took Visha, both of you went up to Melbourne. Could you both share what you learned in Melbourne and what you took up, what course you took up and what you studied?
Risha will talk about her course.
Right.
And
Yes.
I will talk a little bit. Because I did a lot of diplomas.
Yeah.
I didn't have a degree. So when I went, because Visha was young, she was only 16, and I was a guardian, and she was a very independent child. So I thought, okay, let's study then, put all my diplomas, and I expected a degree in early childhood or something like that. But they said, no, you qualify for a master's in education.
Wow.
And I'm like, at the age of 53, you want me to do my master's? And I said, no. And then all the young people and my daughter and nieces said, no, auntie, you can do it.
Yeah.
And I was surprised. I attained distinction. I got one semester exempted.
Wow.
Distinction.
So it's amazing. The learning, I advocate for learning. At
Yeah.
any age, please go there and get yourself educated.
Yeah.
And definitely like mother, like daughter,
Yeah.
because Visha took up fashion and she did really well in that. Could you tell us about taking up fashion?
When I first moved to RMIT, I decided to do fashion because my brother and sister said I dress up well and everything, so why don't you try fashion and design? The first couple of weeks was quite difficult for me to adjust and everything, but within, I think, 6 months, I already had friends and I was struggling but able to do the work. And then it got even more tough when they ask you to sew and make your own dresses. So I decided just to do 1 year and only a certificate.